That's right, you saw that correctly. No new chapters this week, but we still have some great content for you. So just sit down, listen up, and enjoy this bonus episode of Cosmere Chronicles, the podcast we follow two first-time readers, Sheta and Justin, who chronicle their journey through Brad Sanderson's Cosmere series. Today, no new chapters being chronicled, but we will be giving you a bonus episode and give you their reactions to one-star reviews of Mistborn, The Final Empire. So now let's throw it over to the host of this bonus episode. This is Joe! Hey everyone, it's me, Joe, and this is another Cosmere Chronicles bonus episode. This time we are going through and doing one-star reviews for Mistborn, The Final Empire. Because everyone loved that for Elantris. Am I right?
They sure did. I got so much mail about it.
Yep. So we are doing that. And we are so excited to read one-star reviews.
I fucking am. Those
I'm
are
not.
hilarious.
All right. Okay, so I made it to chapter 14 before I gave up. It started out okay, easy to read, but pretty confusing, without much backstory to a completely unfamiliar world. The character names are unnecessarily complicated or too simple to be in an actual name. Vin? Really? It's like he picked names by stringing letters together from Boggle. Eventually I started to realize that there doesn't seem to be much character tension or interesting character development at all. Yes, there is character development, but it's not all that interesting in my opinion. I'm on chapter 14, and I'm not one bit invested in any of the main characters. At this point, I don't see much reason to continue if I'm not interested in their story. And I've read some of the reviews raving about this new magic, but it's not very new or interesting. It's a new take on alchemy, literally the oldest magic, but the author hasn't spent much time explaining anything about it, or really anything. I'm just bored and wish I could get my money back.
Well, hey, there's a review. That's a negative review, if I've ever heard one.
Those
this
are
book
very
was not for this guy.
Yeah.
I like him complain about the names and complain about Vin's name.
Mm.
Sorry, Vin Diesel, that's not a real name.
Well, I mean, I obviously disagree with him on the name thing, but that was an actual review. I'm very surprised.
I can be mad about the magic. Like, you know what? Freaking allomancy? That's just like alchemy.
He said it's like alchemy.
Yeah, like metals have been a thing for forever. Like,
but
I think that's definitely an inspiration in there, but
oh yeah, but like I think it's interesting for him to be mad that it wasn't a new magic, you know, like
I like how but the thing is, he says he's at chapter 14, but he also says the author hasn't spent much time explaining anything about the magic. Even though like chapter 7 or 8 is like all just Kelsier going through every metal and explaining what it does.
Oh, well, he didn't like it.
Yeah, he's like, that's stupid, like alchemy. That's exactly like alchemy.
Just like the last one, I disagree, but I can respect the writer.
Okay. Here we go. My goal in life is to punch everyone who says this is the pinnacle of fantasy. The more I think about it, the more I hate it. Reading all the 5-star reviews for this book has given me brain damage, so I'll be reducing a star purely out of spite.
Wow.
So it's supposed to be a 2-star review.
I guess so.
That's so what did he think about the book? Did he say? I understand that he doesn't think it's the pinnacle of fantasy. Does he have any other opinions to let me know?
Nope, that was his review.
Okay, well there you go.
I'm sorry you're so mad all the time.
Yeah, well, here's the thing too, like if it's like a thing like, you know, where there's not a lot of it, you know, like a genre, there's not a lot of like what am I saying? Like there's a lot of superhero movies, but there aren't that many by comparison, and I say I hate that people like this one because I want a better one instead. Sure. But there's like a fucking billion fantasy books. Why is he so upset that people like this one so much? Like, if you don't like this, there are so many things to choose from. Like,
I wonder what he does.
And I would like to point out, keep in mind, these 1-star reviews are the vast minority.
Oh yeah, of course.
Out of all the reviews, they were both like 1% of total reviews were these.
Yeah, usually when I look reviews, it's like 5 and then 3 are more common than the other ones, unless the product sucks for real.
Now here's the next one. Did not finish at 17%. Couple turnoffs. Vin was bland. Written in third person, which I'm apparently allergic to.
Oh God, you don't read a lot, then
Oh
I
my
assume.
Kelsier was so irritating. It's like Sanderson was trying too hard to portray him as likable. Bro, this part was so annoying. So at the beginning, Vin finds out she's the rarest of the rare and she has crazy insane powers. And she's just like, huh? Okay, sure. Definitely the main reason I refuse to read further. It's just so unrealistic for such a distrusting, insecure character to not have serious internal doubts about what she's been told.
That's a very specific complaint.
Yeah, it's very specific.
I didn't like how the social structure seems so simplified. Slavery seems like such a crucial aspect of the book. I wanted more nuance. Granted, this is fantasy, not literary fiction, so this is really on me for reading the wrong genre. Also, maybe the slavery nuance would have come later. So again, that's on me for giving up too early. Oh well,
hey,
too many good books to read to waste time on this one that bored me.
Yeah.
Goodness. I don't want to get into the writing world and have these kind of people criticize my work. Like,
oh, you think it'll be these kind of people? These are the nice people, Sheta.
I don't know what to do. I'm like, what do you want? Like, I wouldn't know what to do.
Well, you know, the book's not for this dude, you know?
Yeah, but I don't understand.
He didn't like... he thought Vin was boring. And Kelsier, he was too try-hard, apparently.
Yeah, try hard. I was like, yeah, but that was the goal. He's supposed to be the most likable, coolest character.
Also, the way he describes it in my head, do I remember it wrong? Is just Vin's walking, and then Kelsier's like, Vin, you're the chosen one. And she's like, really? And that's how it was. But I feel
Pretty
like
much
it was more complicated than that.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, she finds out, oh, she has these powers. He explains it and shows her, like, yeah, you can use both these powers, so you can use all of them. And she's like, you know what? I don't trust him, but I want to know. I'll stay around him just so I can learn these powers, and then I'll leave.
Yeah, that sounds more like what I remember, yeah.
All right, here we go. Here's the next one. Really? Women are sexual objects to be used and disposed of at the whim of the elites? Whose fancy world is this? Boo to you, Sanderson. I did read the entire book for a book group. I would give it 0 if I could. Engaging enough story to keep it going, and of course I'm rooting for the heroine, but I just couldn't get past the culture of abuse. One could argue that was the need for rebellion, but nope. Won't be reading the rest.
One could argue that was the need for rebellion. What?
Duh.
What? Okay. You could say, oh, that offended me. I didn't like it. But to say, like, that's a problem in the book is so strange. Like, Brandon was writing and he's like, oh, it's so hot. This culture of abuse. I like it so much.
Yeah. I don't know if they read the same book, but I remember that being portrayed in the negative. Not that, yep.
There was literally no part where that was treated like tantalizingly. It was always like a really horrific thing that happens. And the people who did it almost always paid for it in the end of the book. Like, dear God. He's lucky he didn't read the second one. He would have hated Straff. My God.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Some things are just not what people want to read and stuff like that. So, like,
yeah, but to act like that's a problem with the book is so strange.
Yeah.
This is a book where a child got his throat slit. People are run over by carts. Like, people are worked to the bone, tossed in a horror pit. The women being used as sexual objects was actually just one small part of all of that, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't fixated on that.
Yeah, it wasn't like he's always talking about that.
And the other stuff,
and we never saw it too, you know?
I always think, like, whenever something's not for you, like, I read the first Law trilogy, you know, and I will always say, like, the story is incredibly well. Joe Engerby is a great writer. Characters are engaging. The overall storyline, the plot was pretty good. But at the same time, when I finished it, it wasn't for me. It was a little bit too dark and nihilistic. But I will never be like, oh, yo, that book was terrible. I hated it. No one should ever read it. I would say, people want to read it. They should. It's a very good book. Just it might be a little bit too dark for some people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, know your limits, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever had anything like that I can think of.
You're different. You're more open to that kind of thing.
And I've read other dark. I love fire and stuff like that. Just first law. Just when I finished like the first trilogy, it's just like, that's not.
Mm-hmm.
All right, no, just no. I see so many good reviews about this book, and honestly, I don't get it. Yes, the magic systems are detailed and the world building is okay, though I couldn't get over that people using Allomancy had to consume the metals to be able to burn them. The metals they consume are extremely dangerous, and I kept telling Vin and Kel to burn up all the metal before it poisoned them.
Okay, sorry. That's not where I expected it to
You
go.
shouldn't eat lead. That's bad. Like,
Oh my god. Okay, go on.
The thing is, and like right away at the beginning, Kelsier does tell Vin, be sure you burn all your metals at the end of the night. They are poisonous, so if you leave them in your system, you will get sick. Right. I guess. All right. So back to this. I guess they're like immune or something, given that they don't get hurt by the metals, but it never made sense to me. The world building worked. The mist and dull landscapes are rather original, but we never got much explanation for it. I assume that we get more answers in the next book, though it was rather disappointing to be left with so many loose ends. Continue on the topic of the climate. Never made sense to me how the ash falls worked. I get that the ash mounts shot ash into the sky, but how was it transported all over the Final Empire? Ash doesn't build clouds and rain like water does, so how? We also didn't get to see much of the world outside Luthadel. Even in Felice, we barely got to see more than a street and the mansion.
This guy just seems like he wants to read the second book and get more information to me.
On the good side of this volume, the actual writing is very readable, and the world that has been created is enjoyable. While the magic in the book is a bit video game, like it is an interesting and fun concept. I was enjoying things for most part until about 2/3 into the book when I started getting what seemed like a very Mormon message.
No.
what the hell? What is it? What's the Mormon
As Sanderson
message?
is a Mormon, I was not surprised. The whole idea of a corrupt, godlike religious figure who cruelly rules the people and a martyr who will lead the people to real happiness seemed a bit too close to the Mormon story for me to enjoy it. I'm not a Mormon, and by no means knowledgeable about the Mormon faith, but felt like this story pushed a little bit too much a religious message on me. I have no problem with people putting their faith into their writing. It just may not be for everyone.
He's got to describe that more. He just said he doesn't know a lot about the Mormon religion. I need to know, what is this Mormon stuff you're seeing in there?
Well, apparently
you
people
can't just
feel
drop that and not elaborate. God, that's so frustrating to me. So I'm like, if you didn't know he was Mormon before you started, would you have thought any of that? That's such a specific thought to have.
Yeah, I wonder. That's really biased if you don't.
And when you watch Lord of the Rings, are you like, oh, I feel like it's pushing a Christian message, because of those things? It's just so specific.
This one's a pretty long one.
Oh, good. I like to know what people didn't like. Go on.
I've read about this book a lot on BookTube, and it made me want to check Brandon Sanderson's books. So when I got the opportunity to read The Final Empire, I was quite excited. But oh my, what a disappointment. First of all, this series is clearly young adult in my opinion. The writing style is very simple, which makes it accessible to young readers, and the main character Vin is a teenager acting and thinking like one. This is not a bad thing. For people who want to read a complex fantasy book, I think it would be better to shelve this book as young adults so that they would be aware of what they get. It doesn't seem to be the case everywhere, including my country, where it's clearly shelved in the adult section. I didn't like this book, but everyone else does, so I suppose I have bad taste and I have a lot of things to say, but it would take me forever to write. So I'm going to share my negative thoughts as briefly as possible. Number 1, Vin, the main character. He falls from a quiet and vulnerable thief to a naive girl who loves parties with nobles and pretty dresses. Nothing wrong with this, but she becomes so obsessed with it, thinking she couldn't live without it. She believes everyone to be good guys, just because, they are all nice people during the parties.
What the did he finish the book? Did he say he finished it?
Yeah.
I don't believe him. What the hell book did he read?
She used to think
that was like, wait, I'm sorry. That was a cornerstone of the plot. Very specifically.
All right. She used to think everyone would betray her before. Then she suddenly trusts everyone without any reason. Is this a joke? I had a bitter laugh when she cried in front of Ellen because she thought he had sex with a ska woman. How could she fall so low? Her problem wasn't that he had sex with a ska woman. The problem was that he had sex with people knowing that they were going to get killed afterwards.
And he just said she was a naive girl who just thought everyone was good, but that part was her realizing that they're not. Like, I feel he contradicted himself in that statement right there.
At one point, some of her comrades were taken by the bad guys, and her reaction was, "We can't do anything to save them. Let's just go and hide ourselves." And I'm not exaggerating, another character wanted to help them, and he told her that she should learn about friendship. And let's not forget about the fact that she is special. Insert eye roll here. She is more powerful than anybody else. She does everything so easily, even if she had barely any training. Ugh.
I mean, I don't know about that. I don't know that I'd agree with that assessment.
I'm sad that people think like this.
Number 2, Insta Love. Are you kidding me? Can't believe so many people forget to mention it when they rave about the series. Characters barely met once at a party, and they are all over each other, especially Ben. Oh, but they saw each other again after that first time. Right, at another party for a few hours. It's always like that. They don't talk about anything special. They don't spend time together outside these parties, and yet they love each other. Ugh.
That's not how I read any of that. I really disagree with this guy. I don't feel like it was even this grand love story. I felt like it was more a falling in love story. I don't think it was ever treated like, you know.
Yeah.
I just don't agree with anything he's saying.
It's really interesting because to me, I thought that Brandon Sanderson did a really good job of when you have a crush on someone and you're excited to see them at a party.
Yeah.
And it's very specifically that. If they fell in love, it'd be like between the first and second book. Like, I don't think they were in love at that point,
Yeah, I mean, they were thinking about it. They liked each other.
Like
they had a feeling.
When you have a crush on someone and you like want to see him again, that's a completely different feeling.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to say.
Number 3, the secondary characters aren't fleshed out. We don't learn much about anybody else than Kelsier and Vin. The others are just here to say or do something when it's needed, then they just leave. They appear once again for something else, then goodbye, then you get it. They have a role to play, but they are nothing but tools. And their interaction seems forced and insignificant. They don't have real opinions and feelings. I mean, they have opinions, but it doesn't matter anyway since it doesn't influence them at all. Do you play video games? Because all the characters, except for Kelsier and Vin, look like NPCs to me. All right. Okay, here are my main complaints, and I think it's
I'm sorry, I'm just broken. Go on.
Okay, here are my main complaints, and I think it's enough to say I won't read the rest of the series. But I want to read some other books from Brandon Sanderson, like Elantris, for example. Let's just hope I'll have a better opinion then.
Why? Why would you want to read any of his other books if you hated this book so much? What do you expect to be different?
God. And once again, like the whole talking, and Vin was like, "No, we can't say him. Let's go hide." And then somebody's like somebody else is like, "Hey, you need to learn about friendship." Yeah,
I kid you not. Somebody said that.
That's a big moment that came back a couple chapters later when Vin realized that she had to go back and save Sazed. That Kelsier moment was meant to be a big turning point for her.
That's a really interesting review because the other ones I was like, okay, this book isn't for you. But this one I just disagree with almost every single thing said. Like I just think it's objectively wrong. An incorrect reading of the book itself.
All right, here we go. I got through it. Yes, I did not finish it so bad, but I've never done that to a book before. So I decided I'll skip some parts, and I finally managed to finish it.
Then you didn't fucking finish it.
Oh my god!
Don't give me this I finished it bullshit. You didn't finish anything.
What the heck? You have no right to your opinion after skipping stuff. No. What the heck?
All right, I was prepared to give it 2 stars, for I liked some of the characters and it was good plot, but then the ending happened. Why didn't Vin die? Why Kelsier?
Jeez.
Why is Vin's lover now the new ruler? A nobleman is the leader? Yeah, I'm with dead Kelsier being pissed at the outcome. I'm glad he died in a way so that he didn't see his sacrifice become this.
Oh my goodness.
So now you're a 1-star rated book, and I'm glad to get rid of you. Now I'm not saying this is a bad book. I can see why people like it, but for me, I hate it. I do see its potential, like if Vin never existed. Yeah, then the book would have been more of an 3-star. So blame Vin for me disliking this book.
There'd be no book.
It's such a shame she existed because I could have liked this book. I could never give it full marks as the writing style and complicated magic system, plus so many paragraphs with no dialogue, filled with constant magic scenes and running, plus a rinse-wash pacing just exhausted me. And what was with the romance?
Sorry,
I didn't
you're
sign
tired. Sorry.
What was with the romance? I didn't sign up for that. I hated Vin. I hated her love interest, and I hated the romance. I wish them dead. But hey, we can't all get what we want. Kelsier died, and he was the decent one. He should have lived and grew to rule the world, not to instill love teenage.
Oh my goodness.
Why? Why was Vin the main protagonist? She was so boring. There's no personality that I liked, no decent thoughts. Repeat on repeat like a broken record. Bland girl who grows from a street urchin to a noble woman in like the course of days. I don't know how she survived as a street urchin because the girl has such a lack of survival skills. Your brother told you to trust no one. Should have listened because you almost got yourself beat to death for it, you idiot. Falls in love with the first nobleman she sees because girl's noble now. And street urchins fall in love in a whim, don't they? Street urchins just fit right into balls like it's easy, right? Street urchins who have been through hell, they don't act like the person Ben turned out to be. Let's take Gotham's character, Selena Kyle. Now this girl,
God,
Gotham,
my
no!
God. You know what? You have lost all
Gotham's
your right to say anything. Oh my God.
Now this girl, she attended a ball and she attended with purpose by doing a little bit of pickpocketing. You saw a dress and didn't think beautiful, but thought, yeah, I wear this for the part. I'm plain. Then she went back to being smart, resourceful street urchin. She might be a bit more trustful, but it comes across as smart because there's hesitation. She weighs it up and looks for the best outcome. Vin's not like that. She's stupid, boring, flat, bratty, a princess, and I loathed her.
She's a princess too. My goodness.
God.
Gotham. Oh my God, no.
Ugh. Sorry, I don't mean to hate, but you're stupid.
As a rule, I avoid prolific authors for the simple fact that I find it impossible to pound out 1 million words a year and have any kind of quality or coherence. Authors that write books that stand the test of time labor over them for years and come out with a polished work once every 2 years or more. Sanderson former group. Mistborn is nothing more than stream of consciousness rant of frayed ideas hung on a spine of a hard magic system based on metal. Not once in the 660 pages did I find an original idea or anything bordering on interesting. It was a slog.
Oh man, I am impressed with you, sir, for finishing the book if you felt that way.
Did they?
He said he made it through all the pages.
Oh, okay.
After finishing part 1, I wondered why the plotting, dialogue, and characters were so simplistic, and so I read the publisher page to find out that it's a teen book. Had I known this, I wouldn't have bothered, but Doug harped this so much that I pressed on. Finishing the penultimate
this guy's an
part.
Intellectual.
Finishing the penultimate part. I was so bored to the end of the book. Read the last two.
Mm-hmm.
After finishing it, I skipped to the end of the book, read the last 2
No.
to find the obvious conclusions to the entire uninspired story, put it on the shelf. Mistborn has so many plot holes that it's not worth going into. Sanderson has apparently designed a world that is more complex than is revealed in this first volume. I tire of authors who set out to write a series so that the story is stretched many books, but don't tell a story that needs several books to be told. This is just a marketing strategy and makes these authors more businessmen than storytellers. It may be a confirmation bias that I am right that Sanderson hasn't produced a great work, and he is in the group of authors that churn out uninspired, bloated tomes too frequent to be any good, but you cannot argue with the success. Sanderson has an audience that loves him, and to us, just not for me.
Well, that's good to say at the end. But one of my biggest pet peeves in a review is to just say, oh, it's so full of fill in the blank, it's not worth going into. Because I'm like, then why am I wasting my time reading your review? You know? I very much wanted to hear those plot holes. I would be very interested to hear those. Much more so than just, not to be mean, but a word salad of pseudo-intellectual words thrown in, you know?
Yep.
But like,
man, some of these reviews are...
I finished the penultimate part. So you just read Kelsier dying, and then the next thing you do is just jump to the epilogue.
Yeah.
And
he lost my respect when he said that, of course.
And all his stuff
I congratulated him, but I had to take that back.
I know.
You don't got to finish a book, but yeah.
Also, all his talk about how Brent Sanderson just, writes too much and puts all this stuff. This was his second book.
That is, yeah.
It's not like we're sitting here like the 15-year mark and he's put out a bunch of books. This is number 2.
Yeah, people go in there with their opinions about him, like now like how he is, like, oh, what's all the hubbub? Let me go read his second book and like complain about it with all this future knowledge.
Yeah. Again, he won me back over, though, and he said it's just not for me. I can never get mad at a reviewer who says that. Because most people say, no, it's just objectively bad, and everyone who reads it is an idiot. So anyone who does specify that, I can't be too upset with. Or I can't think too little of their opinion. Hate people what?
I don't hate people. I always have a thought about people who complain about writers and they do it with a word salad, like you say. Like you can tell they consider themselves a writer in some way, and also like super judge a writer and not the work and stuff. Like
I think you're opening yourself up to quite a bit of criticism when you do that and you write anything. You know, you got to be prepared for people to make fun of you on the internet. Right. Just as I'm sure we get from people who hate our shit.
All right, next one. I wanted to like this book, but I couldn't get myself past the second half of chapter 2.
Oh, wow. Jesus.
The writing style is too plain, too much description with not enough to keep me interested. I've met the main character in a dozen other stories. The abused and meek girl who doesn't know her potential yet, and the cocky male thief prepping for a job. The environment seemed unique, but it wasn't enough. I tried forcing myself to continue the book, but wound up abandoning it. If it leads to something great, I won't know, because personally, I don't think I should have to get through a few chapters before the story gets good, especially at the beginning. I have a lot of other books demanding my time.
Hey, he's not wrong. I hate when a story refuses to get started. TV shows do it all the time now, where they're like, "Oh, just watch until like episode 5, and then it'll get good." So I can't disagree with that.
But still, it's like couldn't get past the second half of chapter 2.
Oh yeah, I would definitely wait till chapter 3 at the least. Personally, if I've bought a book, invested in it, chapter 2 is pretty early to bail out.
Especially with how long the book is, you have to know, it's like you're going to be introduced to stuff. Like, you don't know what the main plot is. You just, at that point, you just met Vin, met Kelsier, and that's it.
And he's read a million books with those exact protagonists. This guy reads a lot of books, just so all these people do.
Yeah. Yep, they say it too. Like, I try to read this many books, you know.
Well, I respect that. I do. And if you're trying to read that many books a year, there's a very, very good chance you're going to be a lot more wary on what you waste your time on, because you're going to start a lot more stinkers than you would otherwise.
Stinkers? That's so mean.
Well, I know that from, like, you know, I try to read a lot of comics, and God, I come up on a lot that I'm exactly like that for. After a couple issues, I'm like, no, fuck this. I'm out. I'm never coming back. It had its chance.
I say that too, but yeah.
You know, with Mistborn, you're only paying for the whole book. With the comic book, you're having to spend like $4 or $5 per issue.
That is true. That is true, yeah. Another thing I've got is, I don't really feel a story needs to reinvent the wheel. Seeing characters you've seen, like, before, archetypes, you know, a lot of people bail out when they're like, oh, I've read this before. But, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with using those kind of things, because I have seen characters like Vin and Kelsier before, you know, and that means you can use shorthand to not have to spend as much time on certain elements, you know. So, I don't know. I mean, you can do that with just about any character, honestly.
All right. I'm attracted to the girl, thief, assassin type stories. This starts out that way, but in the second half, it becomes about a megalomaniac who schemes to be remembered as a god after he gets himself killed, using a shapeshifter accomplice to make it convincing. In the rebellion, he implodes completely. Just read the news from Syria and Ukraine and save your money on this book.
Oh my!
Oh my god! What the fuck?
It's like, what's happening there? Freaking shapeshifters!
Oh my god! Yep. Yeah, he meant that literally, Sheta.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is fucking hilarious. He did not like that element. Oh man, what does he say anything else?
Nope, that's it.
What? I want to know about the rest of the characters. Oh my goodness, that's a good one. I like that one. Again, if I read that, I would be. If I read a review that said a megalomaniac who uses shapeshifters and whatever else he said to make himself remembered as a god, just read the reviews from real world war zones and horror things that are happening, I would be like, I am buying that book right this second, and I would have been so disappointed when I read the book, because none of that really happens.
All right, next one. Truth be told, I went into the Final Empire with high expectations. Thus, I was badly disappointed. The cover promises so much. What if the Dark Lord won? I wish this book had answered this question. So we enter this world in which the Lord Ruler reigns over the whole world. He is the incarnation of evil, and he's a god, an evil, immortal god. But the world we see is quite docile.
What?
Huh?
What?
It's one of the worst worlds I've ever read. It's oh, that's just wrong.
Ash falls from the sky. Plants are a sickly brown instead of green. I stopped asking the question of how anyone survives in this iron environment. The Ska are slaves to their noble masters, but I don't feel any of it. The whole ambiance feels indifferent, not threatening. So I just don't care. The reason for this is simply simple. Versus show. It's all told. I
fucking hate that one. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I didn't see any
Smart.
evil deeds done by the Lord Ruler until it was too late for me to care. From what I gathered, any major city in Europe during the time of industrialization was much worse than the final empire.
What?
What?
Oh, there was
okay.
There was
what the
no
fuck?
There was no torture of Ska on page.
Well, that's not true.
What?
Well, actually, no. I mean, it wasn't really shown explicitly, but there was an execution. There was a boy's throat slit. There's definitely misuse of Ska.
Right. All I had was the word of our protagonist, who claimed the Lord Ruler and the nobility are so terrible, but I didn't witness any of it. On the contrary, it's the gang doing all the horrible stuff.
Oh, goodness.
It's our heroes who kill people at random, who break in, kill guards, and steal. Get this straight. They do have their backstories, and they have reason enough to hate the nobility, but they just tell us about it. We never see any of this unfold.
They're using the word they when I think he means to use the word Kelsier.
Yeah.
Doxson hates the nobles too.
Yes, but he's not going around serial killing them like Kelsier is.
Yeah. Plus, we never see anything. Like you said, you had the boy that just got his throat slit. You have all the talks about, yep.
You definitely see stuff. That's weird. And
You-
I know there's I just got to say, yeah, I've got to say, he says show don't tell. In a world where the Dark Lord won, this kind of stuff would be so mundane that people wouldn't be like horrified by it. It would be exactly how it is, where it's like, well, this is just how it is, you know.
Especially since it's been
so
1,000
I totally
years.
disagree. Yeah, exactly. I think it did show not tell. It showed how hopeless everyone is. You know.
Also, did he get to the fountain executions?
I'd assume so.
Well, he
So
said we
pretty
didn't
bad.
see the Lord Ruler do anything evil until that point. Until too late for me to care, is how he said it.
I see.
And I'm
see.
like,
well,
I mean, this,
Maybe he doesn't
I
count
guess
as
if
a
you
Lord
went
Ruler,
in
'cause it's...
wanting like a story about a sick fucking Lord Ruler ruling a world, you would be disappointed, you know? But it's just that show don't tell that bothers the fuck out of me, because I would say that the author did show not tell.
Yeah.
Telling would be being like, just saying over and over again, man, he's so evil. He's killing 1 million people a day, you know? Instead, you see how people would act in a world where that is the norm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, no, so we'll keep going. It's Ska who mistreat Vin, not the nobility. It's Kelsier who orders another Ska thief to torture his comrade, not the nobility.
Uh-huh.
It's never the Lord Ruler or the nobility. The gang are actually terrible people. We're supposed to root for them because they sit together in a kitchen and laugh. Then there's Vin. She's one of our protagonists, and she's a very special snowflake. She's so perfect, I want to punch her in the face. But no, I can't because she's so much better than anyone. I'm sure she dodged the punch easily. How many times did I have to read that she mastered something within days or weeks, whereas others needed months or years of practice? Oh, I've never done it before. It'll be a piece of cake. The only flaw she's supposed to have is to be mistrusting, but she only shows it when it's convenient for the plot. The rest of the time, she tags along and does what she's told.
Disagree.
And the political intrigue. I'm rolling my eyes on that one. It's just gossip. The rest, the real intrigue, again, doesn't happen on paper. It's just told by the protagonist. And it's so annoying because we're stuck in Vince's head for this part. He tells us what would happen if this person had this information. No action at all. The worst thing about this book...
intrigue? I don't remember any real political intrigue in this book. I don't think it really even advertised it. I remember reconnaissance, you know, for information, but I don't think this advertised political intrigue as an element. That would be the second.
The worst thing about this book is that in between this whole nothingness of boredom, there are a couple of scenes which are perfect. They are intense, engaging, and well-paced. Fortunately, it's only a couple of scenes in 643 pages.
To me, show don't tell is as annoying to me as the every villain is the hero of their story, where I'm like, yeah, it's a good thing to keep in mind, but like, when you when you have that be the guiding force to everything that's ever written, it gets so crappy so fast. Because sometimes I would like to be told things more, and oftentimes I would like the villain to not be the fucking hero, because that's not a real thing in real life a lot of the time.
Those blanket rules are
Mm-hmm.
not really meant to be blanket rules. They're just kind of like, goodness.
It's like how they, yeah. Because I'm like, you know who's not the fucking hero of their own story? Jeffrey Dahmer. You know? There's a lot of just crazy evil people who know they're crazy and evil. And they're just like, yeah, I do this. It's wrong. Whatever. You know?
I think we've said it in like episodes or something like that where in fictional stories, I like having the gray villains, but at the same time,
Yeah, sure.
I like having the pure evil villains to offset it. If every villain is pure evil, nothing gray, it gets boring. If every villain has to be like some shade of gray that's both good and bad, it gets boring. But but if you have just some pure evil characters like the Joker, it makes your more gray characters more interesting.
Yeah, that
And
is.
if you have your more gray characters, then it'll make your just pure evil ones just stand out more and be more fun to read.
Yeah, like Sheta said, those blanket rules I think have really hurt modern writing because I feel like everyone learned them and they think, oh, I'm so smart, I know the rule, and then they just do that, and it's just awful.
Mindlessly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they judge other works by if they followed those rules.
Oh, they're so stupid. They showed, they didn't, they told, they didn't show, yeah.
Like, this is not math. It is creative writing. It is.
I mean, you know the beginning of Lord of the Rings, which has both of these, and they're like, in the beginning, they made some rings and shit, and this guy liked them, you know? How fucking long would that have taken if they decided show, don't tell, you know? Like, that would have been the whole fucking movie. And then, you know who I don't want to be the fucking hero of his own story is frickin' Sauron, you know? Like, I don't need that shit.
Well,
and I know they're doing that in Rings of Power and crap.
You.
Yeah, no fucking thank you. That is not a character I think needs some, you know... Actually, you know, he was the good guy and Frodo was the villain, you know.
Next one. Oh, Mr. Sanderson, I love this book. I really did. So unique in setting, monsters, magic in action, intriguing, engaging, and more. But then you ruined it in one horrible paragraph. The last paragraph of the book. You create this beautiful, strong, developing, and independent young woman, and then conclude with her realizing that all she ever really wanted was a hug from a boy. That with one hug, her life had peaked. That there's no need for her to have loftier goals, a vision for the future, or an idea of how she can develop her own independent and formally intelligent self. I'm sorry, no. I hated the romance element that made this young lady go weak and goofy throughout the book, but I was willing to brush it off, as it is such a standard item within fantasy novels. But that ending, I can't made me regret picking up a book of which I enjoyed every single other paragraph.
Okay, I'm just going to say the obvious here. Everyone's thinking it. Her thing she wanted was to have somebody she felt safe with and trusted with. It's not necessarily just to be hugged by a boy. That's a very simplistic reading of what this was. And to have that be bad enough to ruin the story? Oh my god, I don't know what book you were reading. Because this theme of trust and not feeling safe with people was the constant theme throughout the book for her. To think that is just very strange to me.
It's interesting when people let their personal biases and things they like come into a story someone else wrote and expecting it to be what they imagined it was the whole time, you know? Yeah. Instead of what's actually in the book. Like, you're like, yes, Ben is strong and independent and stuff. And she, you know, but she's a lot of other things too, really.
No, you're right. And this book, you know, it's got a, you know, strong female protagonist and all that shit, you know. But it's not a girl power book because her being a girl isn't actually that relevant to the story except for the balls and stuff, you know? So, like, to think that this is a I don't need no man kind of book, it's not. It never was pretending to be even, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what book you were reading, but I think you made it up in your head, you know?
Yeah. A hug from a boy? Oh, my God.
All I ever wanted was the approval of a man. That's the end of the book.
Yes,
not the approval of someone I care for. A man.
Oh, the boy I had a crush on part that she was like, I was like, that's so wrong. It's not like they kissed. She just felt like, you know, finally
It's
saved
not
for
like she gave up her power to be with him or something like that, you know?
She just made her so vulnerable in that moment and allowed someone
Exactly.
to, hold her and stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Goodness. I feel really
Right.
sad for this person.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. Clearly they got some things going on, you know? Some weird thoughts and ideas.
Like, don't let it ruin it for you. It's a good moral.
And yeah,
Didn't ruin Vin, you know.
And here's the other thing, you know? I've had plenty of books where I or stories, you know, where I don't agree with every element they're trying to say, you know, but I liked enough of it that I can have my own reading of it a bit. To just have that be like, the story is ruined now, and I loved every second of it, is a real shame.
That's the part that made it sad for me. Yeah.
And it's sad because I think that this reader would really like the second book because it's dealing with those themes a little bit too, even, you know?
And having something ruin the whole show, it does kind of make me Quantum Leap. Love the show. Then the last fucking
that's different though.
Last 3 seconds, it's just like, oh, just quick title card. Dr. Sam Beckett never returned home. And they spelled Sam Beckett wrong.
Yeah, that's totally different. You can ruin a work at the end, but you'd have to do it by undercutting everything the work was about, I'd say, you know. But this, I'd say it was a lot of what it was about, and it's not even the end yet, you know? That's the other thing.
Yeah, there's a second book. You should read it if you're listening. Go read it. It's really good.
I would be so shocked if this person is listening. And if they are, I'm sorry if I was too hard on you.
All right. Oof, where to start? So, where are the female characters? I counted 5 female characters of varying degrees of importance. 2 are dead before the story starts. Of course, they were a mom and a wife, of course. 1 is Vin. 1 dies at the end and only appears 3 scenes. The other is relevant in the end during 1 scene only. So, in the end of the day, we only have 1 female character. One! What the fuck? How are these people reproducing if they're only men? Don't get me started. Sorry,
I'm sorry, what?
Wait, what?
Where did that come from? There's a whole world out there. What the fuck? Okay, go on. I'm so sorry.
Do not get me started on the lack of diversity that goes beyond gender. If you think that in a world where only men exist, you'd see 1 gay or bisexual character. Just like nothing.
Hey, it's the same person?
Yep, I'm not asking for romance. I'm not asking for anything at this point. I'd even be glad if we had some cliched, depraved gay, because at least there'd be proof that there was some gay activity. But we had nothing but men, heterosexual men. And I'm not going to go into some of the men. Ham, Breeze, who cares? Who had a wife. But as we find out at the middle of the story, because she's mentioned twice in a 720 long page book. But he was like, so, I have a wife and a child, but I had to leave them because I need to fight the Final Empire and it's too dangerous for them. Dude, shut up. Go take your family, you heterosexual man.
Okay. This has to be a troll. That is such a troll comment. No way. That last one gives it away, for sure. I don't believe this person for 1 second.
All right. Anyway, moving on from this topic, which has left me seething. You know what I fucking hate in a book? When the writers try to fool me. Bitch, I ain't buying it. Do not make me like character, because I won't. Don't give me some sob backstory because I don't care for exposition. Am I supposed to either feel bad for Vin or Reen when we get to the end? What is this, Naruto? I don't care. The fuck? At some point, I went from loving Kel to I hope this bitch dies a painful death. Because Mr. Sanderson, you weirdo, you made it so forceful that we had to feel bad for Kel and Vin. And that we should like them because they had been through a lot at some point. I was like, okay, I actually hate them now. Thanks.
This person has problems. Holy crap. Don't you dare try to... What's that?
That part to read, because it's all lowercase without any sort of punctuation.
I don't think I've ever heard the opinion. I think the second part was stupider than the first part. So that overshadowed it completely. Because I'm like, I've never heard somebody be... Damn it, author, how dare you try to lead me through a story and try to encourage me to think the things and feel the things you want me to think. And what kind of story is not trying to do that? Like, whoa. Is this book trying to move me or influence me in some way? Is this book trying to tell me a story? What the hell? Get out of here. Like, what kind of story does a person like this like? Like...
Yeah... I don't know.
Like if somebody's like, if somebody's like, hey man, I'm sorry, I've got a terminal illness. I just wanted to let you know, like, whoa, are you trying to make me feel something? What's wrong with you? Like, it doesn't make any sense. What kind of story, especially one that's going to kill off a character, thinks, I don't really give a shit what the audience thinks about this character, and then kills them off? I've never heard that writing technique before.
What about Nikki and Paolo from Lost?
Well, that's different because they tried to get people intrigued. People were not intrigued. So they knew that people weren't going to be that invested in it. But if you're writing a book, like if they started off Lost, and they're like, okay, so we got this character Jack, we got this character Kate, I don't give a shit if the audience likes him or not. Like, what kind of story would that be? That wouldn't make any sense. You're like, no, we got a whole show. We got to try to get people invested because we want people to care what happens, to just be like, I don't care if people care about these characters. Sounds like, I guess, another modern writing trope. So maybe that's what it is.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, the review's not done.
What?
All right. I think this review is long enough as it is, so I'm not going to elaborate on how convenient everything is, or how incongruent is Vin remembering her brother's words when it's supposed to pull at her heartstrings. I mean, come on. Like, come the fuck on. She and Ellen knew each other for a handful of meetings. Juliet and Romeo, I can excuse. But this? No.
Why?
You two...
Yeah, no, what are you talking about? These two had way more interaction than Romeo and Juliet did. What are you talking about?
Like...
Yeah. They weren't just hormonal teenagers.
Yeah.
No, you two did not compose a beautiful sonnet together the first time you met each other, so you don't get to be emo about each other.
Oh, because that
you don't love him. You think he's a cute nerd, which is valid, though. Also, Ellen is such a cattle material. What the fuck? I'm done. I'd still fuck him, but I don't plan on ever reading anything by Mr. Sanderson again.
Okay, this review is so confusing. Every time I think this is a troll, they say something that makes me think they're dead serious. I am going to rule, I think this might be a troll. But
no
that
way.
last section was hilarious.
Like this is a real person. People talk like this for real. Yeah. I know exactly the type of person that would talk like this.
Unless they're parodying the type of person who talks like this.
I don't know. It's too passionate.
Still a little bit more of the review.
What? What the fuck are you doing? You're just making shit up. There's no review.
Anyway, all the religion talk was annoying, and that's coming from someone who doesn't mind religion. The whole make people believe in a new god was uncomfortable. How Kel achieved it was uncomfortable. I won't elaborate, but I don't like this trope. I also think it's cheap and cliche.
Is that a trope?
Come on. Every story has a guy that kills himself in order to be brought up as a god and to lead a revolution. I mean, that's such common and apparently it's cliche.
Yeah, I mean, I see that one. I mean, I know that's happened, but it's not usually it's not usually a shapeshifter involved.
I mean, it happened in One Piece. It happened in. All right, my final thoughts are: how is this book considered a heist book? Heist where? I feel so robbed because I read 720 pages and hello, actual final thoughts. Boring. I hate everything, but as a car crash, I couldn't stop looking at.
This is the most confusing fucking review I've ever heard. I literally cannot make a thought on this. It's too much.
This is why I think it's genuine, because it sounds like a real person.
That is very disorienting. I'm so confused. So good job, reviewer. Good job. You've broken my brain.
Now, compared to the other ones, if you read that review, would that make you want to go read it?
That would make me never want to talk to this person in my life.
I would be like, this is too confused. I would not have this be a valid review because it was too confused. I'm like, so.
Yes, I would not take this one into consideration one way or the other, just from the first section, because I know, okay, you have what is it?
A bias?
Yeah, a bias, but a agenda. You have an agenda to what you think fiction should be. So I already don't give a shit what you have to say. And then the second paragraph would be, I would really enjoy the second paragraph about how dare they try to manipulate us. But I would think, well, this person's just stupid.
I'm confused about why they brought Naruto in.
Because Naruto is all about friendship and pulling on heartstrings, apparently. Which, I mean, every fucking story is. Like, again, a story that doesn't want to pull on your heartstrings is like a horror movie or an action thing, you know?
Even then, they're
Most
like,
like
don't you love these
dramas and
characters? Yeah.
what's that?
And then they kill them. So even
Yeah,
horror stories
even
have.
an action movie and a horror movie. Yeah. When a horror movie's done well, I'm like, no, don't die, you know? Or an action
Yeah.
movie, like I'm watching Die Hard. I'm like, man, I hope John McClane makes it out of this. You know, I'm not like, I don't really give a shit if Hans Gruber or John McClane wins. What do I care?
Like watching True Lies is like, oh man, I hope Arnold can save his wife or save his daughter.
Yeah. Most movies would be a lot more boring when I don't give a fuck what happens. I don't care about John Wick's dog. You know, like why would I even watch that movie?
Yeah.
Oh, they want me to not like
They
these
were
guys because they
complaining
killed
about
a dog.
sob stories, like, right?
Yeah, and he was
Like,
saying that I liked Vin and Kelsier, but by the end I didn't care because they tried to make me too much.
Yeah, I liked them,
okay.
but because I realized the
Interesting.
author hoped I would like them, I don't like them anymore. I only like having my own original opinion, you know? I don't like being told what my thought is, because I'm very intelligent, actually.
Like, hey, I'm
That's why
on to
I'm
you
so
for
progressive.
making.
What's that?
It's like, hey, I'm on to you for trying to make me feel something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, wait a minute. This book better not have a moral.
very strange. Very.
Yeah, this was
strange
my
person.
favorite review. No, this
The
this was
first
my
one.
favorite review. It was the first one was good until the last couple paragraphs. That wasn't good anymore.
Yeah.
But this one was pretty good all the way through.
Oh man.
So review of the day goes to this person. And I'm sorry that you have to live your own life. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, I was gonna say. You seem very confused and
Yes, very confused. That's the word for it.
hurt by various things that I don't think are meaning to hurt you. So just
All right, so
Where
I
the
will
fuck do
stop
you
this.
get these, Joe? What the fuck are you doing?
yeah, where are these from?
They're either from Amazon or Goodreads.
Hmm.
And like I said earlier, like some of the Amazon ones might actually be 2-star reviews because I accidentally filtered it wrong. But all Goodreads are 1-star reviews. I just went there, clicked on 1-star, was going through, and I also got the ones that were not too long because some of them were.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them I saw were like, this would be fun to read, but it's going to take me like 30 minutes to read this whole thing.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So just think of the longest ones I've
and
said.
Joe,
but
if you
triple
read
the
them, it
length.
would take you an hour because we'd keep interrupting them. You know?
Yeah, though, and once again, this is only like 1% of all the reviews on there are 1-star reviews.
Oh no, I assume this is the general public's feeling about this book.
Oh,
Well, just wait. It gets a show, then you'll have even more.
And it's not, and also,
I really don't want it to.
Oh my
Also,
god,
a
Joe,
lot
I
of the-
just realized. Do I gotta fucking watch the show if they make a show because we're doing a podcast? Do I gotta watch some
Probably.
horrible adaptation? Oh god, no.
No.
we probably
I
would.
am. Nope. I'm not doing it.
No, I think that'd be fun because keep in mind, even if you complain about it, at least. So if it's great, we'll talk about good things. But if it's bad and you complain about it, that'll probably be different than all the other podcasts out there.
Joe, you have
I
no
don't-
freaking idea how short Sheta's patience is on bad things.
But it's like
I don't
maybe-
enjoy it.
like I just think of it like the One Piece live action. When that came out, everyone, all of them were just, this is awesome. It's great. Oh my god, it's so good. And I'm just there like, I could not get past episode 4. There was one podcast I listened to where they were like, yeah, we thought it was good. And then they spent like an hour bashing it. And they're like, you know what? That show actually fucking sucked.
Yeah.
Oh.
I just,
That's hilarious. Oh my god.
that's one where I just saw where, to me, I feel like so many people, they are used to rating 2 out of 10 adaptions of anime. So when they get like One Piece, which is like a 4 out of 10,
Yeah.
it's so much better than 2 out of 10s that they treat it like it's a 9 out of 10.
I think that's how it is. I
Yeah.
don't think that enthusiasm's going to last into the second season because usually that kind of stuff just doesn't last.
Or desperate anime fans.
Because a lot of people won't bother. Like they'll mean to get around to watching it, but they won't. You know what I mean? And
Well,
that'll
especially
hurt it a lot.
if they keep the Kobe Garp stuff in there and just keep going. Oh my god, that was the worst part of
Yeah.
season 1. It's still going to be in season 2. This book would have benefited from having no characters.
I want to read that
Is this
book.
person like 5 years old? Like, that's just so funny to say.
Taken as an encyclopedia of a sad and dreary and unrelentingly Euro-clonal world with a regimented, systematized, and utterly demystified magic system, this book is a workmanlike attempt. It doesn't excel. It's no dictionary of the Khazars. It is a full-bore effort to create fantasy without wonder, mystery, or beauty. And in this, insofar as such a thing could even be called fantasy, it works.
My God, was that all one sentence? Holy God.
No, there was a couple sentences.
Oh, God. Okay, so the goal works. Thanks for the good positive review. Glad to hear it. This book is not Lord of the Rings. 1 star.
Taken as a novel about humans with emotions and motivations and the mental capacity to observe and analyze their surroundings, this book is an utter failure.
What? What?
Since being a novel is its stated purpose, I cannot give it more than 1 star, and I would give it less were it possible to do so.
Oh, don't tell me he's not going to go into further depth about what he's saying. Is that it? That's bullshit.
Every character, without exception, is, at best, a cardboard cutout without a spark of intelligence or an independent emotional life. Several are given names, but no evident motivations for doing what they're doing. They are merely props for larger characters in the story. Without exception, every woman in this book is either stripped of her femininity or built with a sexist stereotype as the sole building material. Despite there being maybe at least 3 women with lines in this book, which frankly is more than I expected a few chapters in, they fail even worse than the men at being well-realized characters.
What? Wait. So this is a person complaining about women not getting enough screen time and that they're not feminine enough? Is that what I heard? Because you don't usually see those out in the wild. Usually one or the other. So I'm very fascinated to hear somebody say that. Even though I feel like half the book was Vin being like, and I feel very pretty in a dress, which is pretty damn feminine.
It is with certainty that I say I will never read Sanderson again, not after this travesty.
These people are so mean and harsh.
This would be better as an encyclopedia of a dreary, depressed world, but it's supposed to be a fantasy world. All the characters serve one large character and have no motivations. The women aren't feminine enough, and there aren't enough. Did I get that correct? Was that the review?
I think so.
That is all over the place. My God. Was this person drunk when they wrote this? I would have very much liked to have more detail on what it is they're trying to describe, because it sounds like it's something a very personal feeling to somebody. Sometimes, Joe, when you read these, some of them, even though I disagree with them, are really good and really interesting. Some of them, I swear, you're just doing Mad Libs,
Yeah,
you should do that. Review or Mad Libs. That would be a good section.
Some of these,
you just put in words like, Deus Ex Machina, Mary Sue, and like, what's the other one people always use?
Spunky.
Yeah, Spunky.
Okay. Honest to God, I will never understand how this book is so beloved by all. I have been so painfully bored since the very beginning, hoping it would eventually redeem it. The entire first section of the book is all political dialogue that mostly doesn't even make much sense because the entire time Kelsier just hints at things without fully explaining them. Vin hardly speaks at all, so she basically doesn't even count as a character.
What? You follow her internal monologue for so deeply. I feel like I know Vin a lot more than I know Kelsier, honestly.
Then when we get to the 2 chapters based around the magic system, I seriously just wanted to scream. I was so bored. Honestly, I think that I'm the only reader in the world that cannot give a shit about how magic works scientifically. Oh, you can fly? Great. More power to you. Oh, you can summon a fireball with your hand? Awesome. You can shapeshift? Fantastic. I don't need to know the specifics behind it. It's bloody magic. It just is. Maybe you're born with it. Maybe a radioactive spider bit you. Maybe you were cursed. That's all I need to know.
Okay, bro, you're reading the wrong fucking book. You're just reading the wrong book. You need to go read something else. Go read Harry Potter or something instead. You won't be so mad. There's a lot of things I'm not interested in. I don't give them a 1-star review for doing them, though. That's strange, Like I said, I couldn't pick a rom-com before, but I don't sit down and watch a rom-com and be like, this movie sucks. Why are they talking about their feelings all the time and falling in love? People just
Not
fall
enough
in love.
heads
I
blew
don't
up
need to know
in this.
why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I like better when characters just are in love at the end. I don't need to know the middle part. Like, who cares? 1 out of 5 stars for Titanic.
And like
First
the
of all,
magic.
Titanic's not a rom-com. Like,
It is. Tit's hilarious.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
You
It's got a
have
lot of funny
twisted
parts
sense
in
of
it.
humor.
I laughed every time Billy Zane hit Rose.
Oh my god. Someone's going to take that clip out of context, Joe.
Oh God, they probably will. Just so people know, that was sarcasm.
Nope. Joe loves stories where women get beaten. That's it. If Vin never got hit in this book, he would not enjoy it.
That's the best part.
But yes, no, my most hated review was, I'm not interested in this thing, 1 star. I hate that so much.
But also, like, yeah, the magic, you get a lot of explanation, but that will also be used for why. Because if it's just, oh yeah, they just use magic. But then at the end, or at the end of the story, is like, you need to know how the magic works to know when she doesn't have medals, why she's not able to fight the Lord Ruler. It helps raise the stakes. It's like Spider-Man when he doesn't have his, when he runs out of web fluid and he's out of it, knowing that he can run out and that is an easy way for writers to make an issue at the end. Well, there's still more to this review. From pages 187 to 189, I counted the word coin or coins used 24 freaking times. And they were used at least another 4 times in the next couple of pages. I was getting so irrationally angry at the repetitive word usage, I was ready to throw the book across the room. Like, okay, we've established that metals are the reason people can use magic in this world. You spent 2 bloody chapters explaining. You don't have to mention them every fucking time magic is used. Just get on with the damn story.
So when they say she took a coin and threw it, he's like, "Ah!" Is that it?
I believe
Sometimes I really
so.
worry about people like who leave the reviews. I'm like, are you okay? You sound like you're having such a bad day. You get so annoyed
Yeah.
by something like that. I've had moments like that, but I'm just like weirdly annoyed by everything.
There's stories that overuse words, but it's usually in dialogue. I feel it's overused. A coin, like, what other way does he want them to say that they use a coin to do something, or coin shot? Like, doesn't want to hear that for some reason. That's very strange.
Especially when the coins are the primary, like, methods to attack, you're going to use that word a lot.
Yeah, that's why it's so weird. I just try to imagine when they complain about this book, what it is that they would rather have been reading, and if it could possibly exist.
Yeah.
Like, some of it I could understand, like, hearing, like, she burned tin, she burned steel, and push, she burned... That I could understand, but the actual word coin, when that's the weapon, it'd be like reading a story where someone uses guns, and you get annoyed every single time it says, he pulled out a gun and shot.
That's true. Being annoyed by the word burn would have been far more reasonable than coin. Yes, because I don't think that, but I could see somebody thinking,
like,
yeah.
It's just
literally, I don't know another way to say,
I'm honestly just so disappointed with this book. I've had it sitting on my shelf for almost a year, and I've actually been dying to read it this whole time. But I was apprehensive knowing it was high fantasy. I love the fantasy genre, but typically high fantasy and I don't mix. I should have trusted my gut and just not bought into the hype. It's just that I've heard so many other people who normally hate high fantasy as well say they absolutely adore this book. So I figured maybe this would be the one to break that spell for me. Sadly, not the case.
No, dude, if he's talking about that he cannot stand having them describe things in the first place or, do that stuff, high fantasy is not for this guy. No way in hell.
I think it's so weird when people rate something bad when they personally don't like it. Because it's so weird to be like, oh, not worth the hype. And I was like, clearly it was worth the hype for those people because they enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Well, when your complaints are not about the writing and stuff, that's what's weird. It's just the content really you weren't interested in.
It always bothers me. I'm like, why?
See, in that case, I'd give it a 3. I'd be like, it was a book, it was written, it wasn't for me, Then people can know, oh, it's not for everybody, I reserve a 1 for absolute garbage,
Like, I could see people liking the book because of the magic system. It is different than the other fantasy books, so I don't know.
And what you're saying is exactly how I feel with like the Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I read the trilogy, and I will always say, like, the writing of it is superb. The characters are great. He's a very good writer. It's a very good series. It just, especially when it got to the end, was a little bit too dark and kind of nihilistic for me. That wasn't really what I like in fantasy. But I will not go out there and say it's a bad book because I didn't like
One star.
Yeah.
Because I always say it's a great book. It's well written. He's a fantastic author. It's just not my style.
Mm-hmm.
And I also then know, like, who I'd recommend it for. Like, Justin would probably love the First Law trilogy.
Sounds good.
Right. First off, the concept of characters gaining powers by ingesting actual metal is just downright bizarre. Never in my life.
True.
Never in my life have I ever thought about chowing down on a piece of nickel. Well, yeah.
Really? Not even as a kid or something?
Well, you shouldn't
I
chow
always
down.
I always thought pennies tasted good when I was like 5 years old.
Well, yeah, you should certainly not chow down nickel. That's not one of the elemental metals. At least with a penny, copper, you might be able to burn a copper cloud.
Yeah. That's why this guy's got a problem. He's been eating the wrong metals.
Yeah.
The plot itself was a snooze fest. There's so many moments where I found myself completely bored. The pacing was off. It felt like Sanderson was dragging things out unnecessarily. Despite the good writing, it didn't save the horrid storyline. It reminded me of Dune, which I also hated.
Oh no.
Yeah, another bad book that no one likes.
Vin, the main character, was particularly grating. Her character development was poorly handled. She starts off as timid with no personality whatsoever. Then her transformation later in the story felt forced and unnatural, turning into the most entitled character I've ever read about.
Whoa. You must not read very often. Jesus Christ. What about Shan? Shan's more entitled. What about the Lord Ruler? Jesus, more entitled than the Lord Ruler. My God.
I found
he
it
said
hard
ever, so. Wait, no, more entitled than what's his name in Dune, the fat guy.
Oh.
Harkonian? More entitled than him? Jesus. My goodness.
I found it hard to connect with her, and by the end of the book, I just didn't care what happened to her or anyone else. To add to the confusion, I couldn't understand the setting. Was this world supposed to be set in hell or a future version of Earth? It was unclear and poorly explained.
Wait, what? What? Were either of those options? That never crossed my mind.
I don't know if they read enough fantasy where if the first thing they do when they're reading this fantasy book is this Earth?
Oh no, now I feel bad for making fun of some of these people. What if they have like mental disabilities to think these things? Like,
if they've got the cognizance to go on and write a review, I feel fully fine making fun of them.
Also, relating to hell, the Christian themes woven into the story felt preachy and out of place in a fantasy novel. I read fantasy to escape, not to be sermonized. I got so bored that I started listening to the audiobook on 2.5 speed just to get it over with. Even just listening to it made me want to pass out on the floor, so I had to start coloring in my coloring book while listening.
You might be right, Sheta.
Yeah, see?
The coloring was the only exciting part of this dragging experience. Honestly, if it wasn't for my book club and my coloring book, I would have stopped reading by page 50. Overall, Mistborn was a major disappointment. It was boring, bizarre, and filled with characters I couldn't stand.
Oh, okay, Billy. You enjoy your coloring book then. I have no complaints about you. Here's
color, so no hate.
Yeah, Justin, I did just get Sheta that one-piece coloring book.
Yes, but it was way worded here. That was just a little weird to me. This does sound like a 10-year-old who was forced to read this book.
I could understand, yeah, if a 10-year-old's forced to read Dune and Mistborn, they might not like them.
Oh, God, yeah. Especially Dune, my God, that would be a boring book. I think I was reading stuff like that then, right? What grade is 10 years old?
5th grade.
5th grade? Really?
Yes, 5th grade.
Okay, yeah, I was reading stuff like that by then.
You start kindergarten at 5.
This kid doesn't have the excuse then.
Well, when I was in 5th grade, I was reading the Star Wars novels.
Yeah. I vividly remember reading Jurassic Park at that time. So, That's what I have in my head.
I was reading Watership Down
big
and
book
I
of the
didn't like
time.
it.
So you were like this kid?
Yeah, I was like, I don't like it. It's scary and sad and a little bit political. And...
Hey, at least Watership Down is a kid's book. I deducted a star for every fridged woman in this novel.
Oh my god. So in Mistborn?
Yes.
So
Final.
Just the
so
wife?
it's a 4-star review?
It could
Yeah, a 3-star review because of the wife. So it's a 3-star review. Yep.
It could arguably be a -1 star by this calculation, but I was generous. Unfortunately, the over-abuse of this trope is a mere symptom of so many characterization sins that the whole book comes across as just square pegs being jammed into round holes with the only purpose to hand-wade through a plot desperate to justify its cool ending.
Oh
Right.
my god.
1, Vin's not like other girls. She doesn't wear heels out of 5.
Wait, that's a fridging? That's not a fridging. A fridging is when you kill off a female character to motivate a male character. How's that a fridging? This girl lied.
Note, the other girls, noble Mistborn assassin, court manipulating information broker, the ignominious martyr. Why weren't these characters in the book for more than 2 scenes? Instead, we get fanboy/girling over Ellen. He's not like other boys. He reads for half the novel. And completely redundant information chucks book out the window.
I think you're not taking into account what Vin's upbringing was like. I don't remember any he's not like other boys. I more think of it being like, wait, is this somebody that is trustworthy and a good person? I do agree with them about the information broker, though. I would have liked to see more of her. Otherwise, though, no, this is stupid as shit.
He's not like other boys. He doesn't want to kill the Scott that he slept with.
Yep. By that logic, you could say that about most any character in anything ever.
All right. Here we go. This one's a short one.
Wait, that was the end of it?
Yes.
Where were all the fridgings? I wanted to hear the fridgings. There was only 2.
I think
honestly, you could say Kelsier got fridged. You could say that if you wanted. This review lied to me. 1 out of 5 stars for this review.
People misuse the term fridging nowadays. They don't understand it.
I've never heard it used.
So just
I've
like
never
Deus
used it
Ex
heard that
Machina.
wrong.
Yeah, what do they
I
mean
love
by
how a
that?
book. By what?
By that term, what do they think they're meaning? Sex? Is it just
I don't-
sexism in general?
I don't know because she said. What was her example again? Or his? I'm making an assumption. What was this person's example?
You're
They
fridging,
didn't
Justin.
give an example.
Yeah, you're right.
All they said is Vin's not like other girls, and then said that the other girls are pretty much you had Shan, Kliss, and Mare.
I love so much in reviews for this book. Maybe for this writer, but that he's triggering the one side, which is like, not enough girl characters. This book is so sexist. And then the other side of, oh my god, too many girl boss characters. This book is so fucking woke. Like that, you're getting both sides of that is very funny to listen to in one little talk.
Both 1 star.
Yeah, and they're both given 1 star. So I guess they get along.
Confused. Yeah, people are confused.
Yeah, people get the buzzwords and they apply them to everything. They got the newest update in what they're supposed to believe, and they just parrot it everywhere a lot of the times. I feel
it's also
like you probably that in 1-star reviews better than anywhere. What's that?
Just seeing ghosts everywhere is awesome.
Yeah,
or
jumping at shadows, right?
Yeah.
Because they've been hurt. There are a lot of stories that are a bit sexist. There are a lot of stories that are way too girl bossy, And then they start jumping at shadows everywhere. Especially that guy. Star Wars hurt that guy, I can tell.
Yeah. Every girl's like Rey. Like, they're trying to replace Luke.
Like, okay, there's a girl in the story. That's fine. I'm not sexist. Oh, the girl said something? Okay, that's fine. Wait, the girl said something that has influenced somebody? Oh my god, it's a Mary Sue. It's happening again. It's happening again. I let Rey into my heart and then they did this. No.
I will say, I did like Rey in Force Awakens.
Oh yeah, she was okay. I do agree she's a Mary Sue in that movie, but I think they could have turned it around in the second one. It's the sequels that do the damage to the character for sure.
But I also say
she was salvageable.
Part of that problem was, they did not have a clear, overarching plot line to go with.
But you got to think, George Lucas sets it out very specifically. It takes a lot to use any of the Jedi powers, and she's just using them one after the other, That annoys me. But you could fix it by saying that, you know, if they would have said she was like created, kind of like what they said, like created to be a force conduit or something, and so she had a higher unnatural power, then she would have needed to deal with that. But instead, it's just, no, she's just naturally very powerful. The force works through her to a point that it has done with no one else before. And I think that's what pisses off a lot of people. Because when she's able to control minds and shit,
I have no idea how long she was with Luke. The timeline of that second
she was
movie.
with him for like a week. Like no time at all. And he didn't train her. She tried to train her. She got mad. Then she beat him up and she left. That's the plot of that sequence.
Even a week doesn't make sense because the ship is being attacked for 18 hours.
Joe, logic about how long things take to do is for 8th grade book reports.
All right, let's get back to these 1-star reviews. Okay. Next one's short. I couldn't get through the first chapter. A big disappointment.
Oh my.
The story was trite and the magic was forced and gimmicky.
So first chapter, that would be Kelsier with the ska, right?
Well, that's the prologue. So I don't know if they mean just the prologue with Kelsier and the ska, or if they're including them the first chapter where Vin and Cayman go to talk to a guy and she's using her luck.
Even at that point, I don't know how you're going to say that the stuff is gimmicky. You don't know what it is yet. Like, it was pretty mysterious still at that point. Right? Yeah.
Maybe they took her using the word luck to be literal.
I don't know. Well, let's listen and see.
No, I told you, this review's short. That's it.
Wait, that was the review? Oh, I'm sorry. I expected any kind of explanation, but I guess you only made it through one chapter.
People say these kind of things make any sense. Like, they never make sense. They never support their claim.
I really like when they do, though, because then I get to see the viewpoint of somebody who disagrees with me. It's really frustrating when they just dine and dash like that. This book sucks. Girls got fridged everywhere. Does not elaborate.
What do you mean by fridge?
Yeah, I would love to hear.
Does anyone know what that might be referring to?
Huh? Well, you know the term, right, Sheta?
Yeah, but it's not used correctly.
No, it was used incorrectly.
The way I
it is literally,
it was.
Yeah, it is literally just killing or doing something bad to a female character to push forward a male character's story, which is the stupidest thing ever because that's going to happen. To take that off the table is such a strange thing to say when, you know, the relationship between males and females drives so much of why people do things anyways.
No, it's weird.
The only time it pisses me off. What's that?
Well, I said it's just weird because you know that a lot of people, that's how origins are. Bruce Wayne's parents died.
Yep.
Spider-Man's uncle died. Like, it's
yep,
just the
exactly.
same.
And that's why it's stupid.
Well, the
only time I agree with it is when it's like, especially in comic books, a long-running character who you like, you know, is killed off just to do the story quick. Sometimes in TV shows they'll do that too, and it can be really annoying because it's so cheap when it's done poorly, you know. But if it's in a backstory, that's insane.
Oh, I've always felt that the women in refrigerators thing or fridging, I feel like it's a symptom of something that's a similar but different problem than what people think. Because people so many times they just go into that it's just, you know, men writers killing off female girlfriends to push people forward. Where what it more is that it's writers that need to cause a death to push someone forward, so they kill off the love interest. But since the majority of characters are male superheroes, that's why you're getting mostly females. Because I really noticed this when I was reading like the Carol Danvers, you know, Ms. Marvel stuff. Because she had like 2 or 3 male boyfriends that got killed or weird stuff happened to them. But just because, so it's a similar problem where there's more male characters than female characters out there. But it's just writers being lazy and writers being lazy and killing off the love interests.
The only time I hate is written poorly. That's basically as simple as it is, you know. But you could say that about any trope ever.
All right. Overall, it was a completely disappointing experience. I picked up the Mistborn trilogy after being bombarded by book talk videos proclaiming this to be the greatest fantasy novel, absolute must-read, and the pinnacle of epic fantasy. So, of course, I was rather excited. What I received was a cast of 2-dimensional characters who do not develop, and I could not connect with nor bring myself to life. There also seemed to be almost no stakes to their grand vision.
Jeez, pinnacle of epic fantasy seems like quite a not correct sell on this book. I don't think that's what it's even going for.
I also don't understand
it's-
how. I just don't understand the no stakes divisions. It was either we take down the evil ruler that's a god or die.
Yeah, and a major character did die, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. But like, if he's expecting like a Two Towers type battle, like in the movie or something, for the epicness, I don't think this is the right place to go at all.
One of the main protagonists spends 90% of the book brooding about her brother and how much of an edgy loner she wants to be. It reminds me of.
Okay, go on.
It reminds me of Sasuke from Naruto. Just
less
like.
Oh, okay, go on.
Just less likable, fleshed out, or intriguing.
Jesus, less likable and fleshed out than Sasuke? That's quite a... Oh my goodness. I'm not a Naruto hater or anything, but it's not that deep, Jesus. And if this guy was looking for epic stuff and he's an anime guy like that, I can see him being sorely disappointed by this book. Oh my goodness.
Kelsier is somewhat better, but was painfully generic.
Please go on. Tell me just that.
There is one scene very early in the book where they pull out a whiteboard and jot down how to topple an empire. And the line, well, if you're running a job, you know I'm in. And that makes me balk to remember it.
What? Why? Why? Tell me.
What truly insulted me was the Ska, the slave race of the series. We are to believe in their 1,000-year history of being used as cattle, there had not been a single grumble of discontent or an uprising until Kelsier arrives. After which the Ska decide to join the uprising, no problem.
Incorrect.
Okay, one, they literally said there were plenty of attempts at uprisings. And two, does this guy not know about the history of our world and how things have been? Like, that's pretty common when you've got an overwhelming force like that. But yeah, just wrong.
They just quietly took it until Kelsier appeared. This is explained that they had been bred into submission.
No, wrong. No, that's wrong too.
Incorrect.
The terrorists were the ones that were bred into submission.
That is all just completely wrong.
The Ska and Luthadel were constantly being soothed by soothing stations.
Mm-hmm.
The ones outside of Luthadel, once in a while you'd have uprisings. If they got bad enough, they got attacked by the goddamn Koloss.
Yeah, they just got killed. Yeah, that's absolute nonsense. This guy didn't pay enough attention, but I mean, not to be mean, but if Naruto's his reading level, maybe that explains it.
My God.
I will give it credit that the Allomancy magical system was interesting, but goodness gracious, if I had to read they flared X or he burned his Y one more time, I would have went mad.
See, so we have a guy saying that you should say before if you didn't like it, so I can't complain about that.
If you enjoyed it, great, I'm elated for you. I personally hated it and only finished it out of stubbornness and because I couldn't get a refund.
Did he try? Are you able to get a refund for a book? Like, that's interesting.
Money back guarantee.
Like, if I read a book and if I read every book I buy within 30 days, can I get my money back? Is that a thing?
If you didn't like it.
I mean, at that point, somebody says, go to a fucking library. What are you talking about?
I know Audible has it where you can return it within a certain amount of time. Because I know I had to do that when I started buying some Star Wars books, like the ones from the 90s. Then I started listening to one. I realized this is an abridged version. They never made unabridged audiobooks of those books. Because I own both the physical copy and the... I wanted to read the audiobooks, then I would listen to it on my drive to work. When I get to work, move my bookmark forward, read it there. But also when I move my bookmark forward, it's like, all right, I went through 45 minutes. How the hell am I on page 90?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it, it's like, oh, this scene with these two characters talking, it literally jumps from this line from this character, skips the next page and a half, and then continues with this line. All right, I will return this.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
All right. I'll go to the next one. This one, I believe, was a little bit longer. I went into Mistborn expecting something engaging, not in an intellectual sense, really, but something fun, something that might tug on my heartstrings a bit. Nothing complex and over the top. I'd read 2 of Sanderson's short stories before this, and they were really exciting and fun, albeit not too original. I was thoroughly disappointed with how this book turned out. It had action, yes, and there's some fun here and there, but Sanderson handled the characters poorly, and the plot didn't build up very well. The book is separated into several subsections, like part 1, part 2, etc., each one with its own arc that moves the cast closer to the overall goal of overthrowing the evil Emperor guy. At the end of each section, there's an action scene that's supposed to be big and momentous, one that will really bring the plot in a new direction. However, none of these battle scenes felt dramatic or interesting. Sanderson spent most of these sections showing the protagonist, Vin, attending balls and learning rumors, learning to be a lady, and moving along her character arc. Then at the end of the section, hey guys, guess what? Here's an action scene. Turns out it's important. He didn't make us feel the importance or the tension. It felt like the action for the sake of action. The larger arc of the book has this feel as well. The climactic fight sequence just kind of happens.
I mean, I obviously disagree with this guy. The action was for the plot more than just for coolness.
The characters are also poorly handled for the most part. Kelsier was interesting. It seemed like he had some depth to him, but nothing all that interesting ends up coming of him. Yeah, I guess becoming a martyr for religion is interesting. The same goes for Vin, kinda. She's kinda distant, and she doesn't trust people all that well. And she has her little ups and downs. Sometimes she trusts people, sometimes she doesn't. What really ruins it for her is the fact that Sanderson has no clue how to employ subtlety. He just tells you everything, shoves it in your face, and now the character doesn't feel human anymore. There are perhaps two scenes that...
True. There's so much stuff he doesn't tell us explicitly. That's just inaccurate. I actually wish he'd be more explicit in what he's talking about sometimes.
There are perhaps two scenes that held emotional depth. They were very brief, and Sanderson probably had no clue that there was even any emotional tension in them because they were subtle. The rest of the cast doesn't have much heart either, except Ellen, but he's too cliche and flat to really be enjoyed. What irked me the most was the atmosphere of the book. Seems like a trivial thing to talk about, but as a fantasy novel, atmosphere plays a huge role. What would Lord of the Rings be without its epic atmosphere? What would A Song of Ice and Fire be without its gritty atmosphere? In Mistborn, Sanderson tries to create a gritty atmosphere, and he fails miserably. He conjures these interesting images: ash falling from the sky, this dark, dreary city with oppressed peoples crowding the streets, thief gangs run rampant, and these dudes called Steel Inquisitors have nails hammered through their eyes. They just walk around like that. Nails in their eyes. Sound hardcore, right?
What the fuck?
Sorry.
You really hammered that one in, alright.
Wrong. While all of this sounds like it might be gritty and really visceral, Sanderson interacts with this world like a novice fantasy writer interacting with their knockoff Middle Earth. The characters are too homely and kind, action scenes are bloodless, and read like bad anime translated to text.
What? Where did this bloodless come from? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's very strange. Even like the most trivial like time somebody gets hit, it's usually like very bloody and disgusting. That's very strange.
Almost overly so for me sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think he's trying to be like what this stuff would be like in real life, which is a lot more violent than you'd think, you know. Somebody gets hit on the head, they don't just fall over, their head gets caved in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this person, bloodless, just forgot about the blood fountain scene.
Yeah, stuff like that too. This guy's weird.
This is a book about thieves, but no one's cutthroat. No one's harsh and bloodthirsty and greedy, except for one guy. But he's only in 2 chapters or so.
Wait, which guy?
Who?
My guess would be maybe he's talking about Cayman? Like, at first when he said one guy's bloodthirsty, I figured, oh, that's gotta be Kelsier. But then he's only in a chapter or 2.
Yeah, this is weird, man. This is a weird review.
Oh yeah, and back to Bloodless. He clearly forgot Cayman's death.
Yeah, that was the one that affected me the most. I didn't like it. Or when we find her old crew and they're all messed up, like, that's scary.
What? Well, let me get back. All right, except for one guy, but he's only in 2 chapters or so. And it's apparent that Sanderson views him as a bad guy. Sanderson is...
Yeah. Wait. Apparent he views Cayman as a bad guy? He is a bad guy. Like, this story would be better if all the characters were like him. Petty, pathetic people who punch girls around when they feel angry.
Alright. Sanderson is too stuck in the amateur fantasy writer's mindset. Good guys are nice, humble, pious, and pretty. Bad guys are all racist, or some variation of that, egotistical, mean, ugly, and they gasp, do the naughty. So really, all this
God.
all this grit and gray is just a part of the setting. In actuality, this is every Tolkien knockoff ever written.
Oh my god. Oh my god, my brain. I was like, okay, this guy, he wanted a more gritty, violent thing, that's fine. And then he gets into the whole, books are only good if there's no such thing as like overt good and evil, which is my most hated thing I've ever heard. It always, he's saying that this is the most amateurish ripoff stuff, but all the amateur garbage writers we have nowadays believe that same thing. And it's so boring. Like, like I read books or I watched like Lord of the Rings, and the good guys were good and the bad guys were bad. But like in real life, it's not like that.
And going back to his first paragraph, he said, "He's expecting something engaging, not in an intellectual sense, but something fun that would tug on his heartstrings."
Yeah,
that's exactly this would cut it.
Right.
If you didn't want that, you don't have to have that in this book. I mean.
But wait, it has hard magic. That means it's original. Sanderson did create a fairly interesting magic system, yes, but it's a bit too hard for my taste. It isn't a technical issue. I just don't like having to deal with countless rules. It hampers the action sequences and turns some scenes into lengthy exposition-written monologues with the occasional question thrown in from Vin.
So wait, he doesn't mind hard magic systems, but he doesn't like having to have all these rules.
So do you even like hard magic?
Clearly, you're just not a fan. Don't try to make it like you have like a correct opinion about this. You can just not like this story. It's that simple. The story doesn't have to be bad for you to not like it.
Ones that contradict themselves in the same voice, immediately in the same sentence contradict themselves. They're just like, why? What are you even writing? Like, what's hurting you? Where you have to be so negative about everything.
Yeah, I didn't like this
Even
book. I went in expecting this. Yeah. I went in expecting this. I got this. I feel like I was cheated out of what I wanted. The end.
These people will not be happy no matter what.
All in all,
this is good practice.
All in all, this really isn't a good book. Like I said, no subtlety, poor handling of the plot, no tension, cartoony, and something I didn't mention before, lots of purple prose.
I'm sorry, lots of what?
Purple prose?
Is he saying it's too prosy? Because this was a pretty simple book.
All right. Purple prose is used to describe writing that is too ornate, showy, or flowery and can disrupt the flow of a story.
Okay. I like this guy in the writing, but my God, is it not? It's not all showy. Like I don't think I've had to look up a single word for the entire book.
Yeah. In fact, one of the most common criticisms of Brandon Sanderson is that his writing's too simple and it's not showy or flowery.
Yeah, but that's how why he's successful.
But this person thinks that it's too showy and flowery.
Well, he wasn't lying when he said that he didn't want it on an intellectual level if he thought this was too much of that.
Yet he also throws in comparing it to A Song of Ice and Fire. It gets 2 stars for being entertaining in a few spots and for being consistent, if not very interesting, with the emotional story. It's also hard to hate Kelsier.
It is hard to hate Kelsier.
I'm sure he tried.
All right, I'll go on to this next one. I couldn't finish this book. There was nothing original about it. It also seemed as if the book was written by a 13-year-old. Let's start from the beginning.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I want details.
Originality. Having read Brent Weeks' Way of the Shadows and Trudy Canavan's Black Magician, I didn't find anything even remotely original about Mistborn. Just like in those books, we have our main protagonist lurking in the shadows of a city, usually in some sort of thieves' underground, and developing incredible skills and or magical powers along the way. Sure, Mistborn has some interesting things. For example, I really wanted to know more about the ash falling from the sky, about Lord Ruler and the Sealed Ministry, but the way the story was told bored me to tears, as well as the constant repetition.
So I've got to step in and say, this book was not original because it had characters who were doing something. Did I get that right? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Characters were in a setting and doing something. 0 out of 10 stars.
That's
not
too
original.
much. I've read something that had characters and they were doing stuff too, so I'm already bored.
Well, that's why I hated Mass Effect, because, I've read people in space before, so...
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. For example,
I hated this book. I hated this book because I've watched Seinfeld.
For example, there's a scene
Basically the same thing. Sorry.
For example, there's a scene where Kelsier teaches Vin how to use her powers. In other books, our heroes usually develop one skill/spell at a time. That makes the discovery much more satisfying and interesting, both for the hero and the reader. Here, she already knows them all, and we are dumped in this long and annoying tutorial. In that moment, it didn't feel like a book. It felt like a video game. I can almost picture Vin standing in the misty street, cloak billowing in the wind, awaiting my command. At the bottom of the screen, her life, mana, and skill toolbar with hotkeys from 1 to 9. As I said earlier, it feels like this book was written by a 13-year-old, especially when you hear some of the names of the characters, like Breeze, Clubs, and Marsh. Wow, seriously? Are they people or Pokemon?
Okay. Okay. Wait. Okay. I'm sorry, that's a lot to unpack there. So, this book is like all other books. First complaint. In most books, they do it like this, but this book did it differently. That's his first complaint. My other question is, Clubs, Breeze, and Marsh, and those are Pokemon? What? Like, Diglett, Pikachu, Meowth, Jigglypuff, like, what is he? What? They usually have kind of like puns or like gibberish names. How many Pokemon are just like plant?
Oh, also, why is that a complaint?
It's Hitmonchamp, not Club. Like, what are we talking about here? Am I missing something? I don't know enough about Pokemon. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah.
Am I the idiot here?
Yep, there is a Pokemon called Marsh, Justin. He's just a swamp. Just kidding. I don't know if that's true.
There's Marsh Stomp, I think, but...
Yeah, Joe, are there any, like, major Pokemon who are just one word that I'm not thinking of?
Seal.
All right. So he's got the name of
an
animal that he is?
Yeah, it's just a seal.
All right.
Cute.
All right, that's one.
Mew.
Okay.
Mew? What does Mew mean? I thought that was just a made-up name.
MEW?
Yeah.
Well, it's like a cat voice.
Maybe. I never thought of that. Still, I'm talking about nouns here. That's just so strange of a comparison to make.
I don't know. I have not played Pokemon since Gen 5.
Yeah, and when did this review happen?
I don't know that. Well, next paragraph. Then we have a constant repetition of people doing the same gestures over and over again. When I read that someone frowned for the 863rd time, I threw the book at the wall, and I never do that. Heck, the first sentence you read starts with someone frowning. I know that Robert Jordan is Wheel of Time used a lot of frowns, blushes, and other annoying words, and Sanderson is his greatest fan. He even wrote the last 3 books. So this comes as no surprise. Still, I expected better from Sanderson, especially after all the praise he got.
What in the hell is this guy talking about?
This might be the most bizarre complaint that I've ever heard. Is this true? Like, I never noticed an excessive use of those words. Like, is that based on anything real? Like,
and this I haven't noticed. In Wheel of Time, yeah, I do notice sometimes with a lot of times girls like Nynaeve tugs on her braid a lot, or a lot of the girls. Oh man, what was the exact phrasing? Like, it's always them like their dress or something like that. Those are some phrases that you hear all the time in Wheel of Time. But with this, I could imagine maybe smile, because Kelsier smiled all the time, but it was never anything where I noticed it.
I noticed Kelsier smiled a lot, right? Yeah, that's fine. What in the fuck?
I thought he smiled like specifically because his character does it in spite of everything. Like, so it was important to note. So
it is. That's a plot point for the character.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
So in conclusion, the story is unoriginal, its pacing is like a video game, characters are bland and boring, their names are juvenile, and the constant repetition is frustrating to say the least. I seriously don't see what's so great about this book.
I can't take any more of these, Joe.
Well, I don't know if there's that many more for this book.
Can't take any more of these. They're
Don't
so
worry.
fascinating.
I
You really
don't
get an
like
insight into somebody's
randomly
mind.
negative people. I already know. Like, I don't get along with people who think like that, so I don't need to learn any more about them or hear their opinion. Like, if I was talking to a person in real life, I would just walk away from them because I wouldn't want to hear anymore. Like, oh, okay, that's what your opinion is. Okay, and I'll just leave. Like,
Oh, you're stupid.
yeah.
All right, here's the next one. Okay, I didn't finish this book. On page 148 of this book, I gave up. I just didn't care about the characters, the world, the magic system, anything. Just completely unenjoyable.
Also,
The
when
world.
they say that, I will walk away. Like, if you did not finish the book, your opinion should not even be voiced. Like, okay, sorry.
Well,
Go ahead.
I would disagree with if someone, if they at least gave it a try and they didn't like it, I would be fine with them saying.
Sure, but
I'm
I
relatively
would
When people
walk
say
interested in
they
away.
their
gave up,
opinion.
sometimes when people say they gave up on chapter 1, those ones I won't pay attention to. But this version, 148 pages, that's still a decent chunk to the book. I don't know if they're reading the hardcover, the trade paperback, or mass paperback, because that will change how far they were into the book, but it's still a decent chunk. The world building was laughably shallow. All we know about the world is that there is Lord Ruler of an empire, and nobles that rule plantations where serfs tend wilted down plants. Sanderson couldn't even name a single crop.
I've got to stop him right there.
Just
He
generally-
didn't finish. He didn't finish the book. How does he know?
That's exactly what I mean.
That doesn't make any sense. That's not like. You cannot finish the book and have complaints, but if your complaint is that's all the world building is, that is nonsense.
Really
happens
matter
so
if they're-
often where they're like,
if
they
they're-
never talked about this, and I was like, how can you say that when you didn't finish?
That's like if I watch the first 10 minutes of Lord of the Rings and be like, the world building is awful. Everyone always gives J.R.R. Tolkien so much credit, but all we know about the world is that there's a bunch of people who live in little huts on the hills.
And does it really matter if what they're growing is corn or soybeans? Is that really
bothered the hell out of him?
All right. Characters generally aren't described physically, so it's hard to get a sense of who's who. Elves wear suits, carry sword canes, which conjures images of Victorian or at least Edwardian England. But there's clearly no industrial infrastructure. The poor are Ska or some type of slave/peasant, but somehow a leader of a Ska rebellion manages to collect enough money to hire a group of powerful magic users to throw the empire. What? The whole setup is just poorly developed. How can you possibly believe in the characters or a setting completely lacking in a basis of reality?
It's a fantasy book for one, you fucking dolt, for the reality thing. But for two, if you finish the book, you would have an understanding of why they're working for this rebellion if you had read more.
Also, they explicitly said how much the rebellion barely cobbled together this money, and it was all the money the Skull Rebellion could have, and they don't even have it to pay them up front yet.
And it would not be enough if they were just doing this for the money. And
yeah,
they expect that they're going to get all the H as the real payment at the end. Every single thing about this has been pissing me off. More than other reviews have.
All right, now his favorite quote. And ruthlessness was the very most practical of emotions. What? And Sanderson loved this turn of phrase so much, he used it multiple times.
Did he?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember that being a big deal.
The final straw was the magic system, which one main character describes the other in excessive detail. All the mechanics of it laid bare. There's no mystery to wonder about it, just a bunch of guys eating metal and powering very specific abilities with it.
Yes, that's what it is. Also, couldn't you say, if you really want mystery, how is this even possible? Could be a mystery if you really want one. But isn't that how magic system works?
And there was mystery the entire time, because we're told this is the 11th metal. We aren't told what it does. We're shown 8 metals. We are not told or shown what the 9th or 10th metal. There's still a mystery of what those other metals can do. Then by the time you finish the book, you find out that there's a 12th metal with aluminum.
But it's fascinating, these types of people who hate the hard magic systems, just like the people who hate non-hard magic systems, they're both equally annoying. Like, I like my magic to not be explained. Okay, then read a different book. What are you talking? That's like reading Harry Potter and getting all pissed because they don't explain the magic.
Bottom line, there were no redeeming values apparent in the first 148 pages of this book. But if you like descriptions of people jumping through the air and hurling metallic objects around, this book is for you. Just don't bother me with it.
Dude, bro, you just described the coolest pitch I've ever heard for a book. Confused descriptions of people jumping through the air and hurling metal at each other would get me to read a book in a second. Joe, this was my least favorite review of all of them ever so far. I hate this review.
We'll review this review. 1 star.
Yeah, 0 redeeming features in this review. Did everything I hate in reviews, except it didn't say that it wasn't gritty enough or that it didn't have enough fill-in-the-blank characters, so almost everything. I'll give it a 1/2.
All right. Well, we have one more review. More than 600 pages in which almost nothing. Dozens and dozens of pages are spent on various characters training our heroine in allomancy. Almost nothing about some truly interesting concepts in the book. Ash from the Sky, Inquisitors, etc. I really tried hard with this book. I really did. But when after 500 pages, the main character returns from the showdown with other Mistborn in tattered clothes and covered in blood, what did she get as a reaction from her comrades in arms? Undergarment is not appropriate clothing for a lady. After that, I forever tossed this book in a no bin and erased Sanderson from the list of writers to follow.
After that? So did they not finish it too?
I guess not.
Well, minus a star for not finishing the book.
This is one where it's like, yeah, complaining because we were shown Vin training her powers with the other people.
Yeah. It's so funny to listen to people complain about exact opposite things.
Just goes to show you can never please them all.
You can't. But again, if I read a book and it wasn't for me, I'd be like, well, maybe a 3. It's not what I like, but somebody would like it, Not a fucking 1. Like, I give Transformers 5 a 1 out of 5. Like, that's the kind of thing I'd give a 1 to.
I never watched 4 or 5.
4's, admittedly, compared to the other ones, it is a movie with a plot and characters.
That's a low bar you're putting there.
It's a low bar, but after watching especially 2 and then especially 3, 4 seems like a damn masterpiece. 5 is some of the worst garbage I've ever watched in my life.
Yep, and so those are all our 1-star reviews we have for The Final Empire. In the future, not sure how long after this, but we will be having 1-star reviews for The Well of Ascension to go over.
Oh, yay.
These are painful,
hey,
Joe. Do we have to keep doing them?
Yes, I find them entertaining. I enjoy hearing your pain.
I don't like it. It's too negative for me.
Well, so wait, did you literally end with the most hated review I've ever heard? That's impressive. It wasn't even that colorful.
Well of Ascension might be even weirder because you'll have people that likely enjoyed Final Empire enough to read the second book and then hated the second book.
Oh, God, you're right.
Ugh. So, I hate this.
So, any final thoughts about these 1-star reviews we went over for Final Empire?
No, I don't know why haters gotta hate.
I stand by freedom of speech, but all of these people should be tossed off a cliff for sheer criminal stupidity.
I don't think being stupid's a crime.
Well, in this case, I think maybe we should bring it back as one.
What if their 1-star review got someone to not read it who would have really enjoyed it?
Then that person should be shot for being stupider than any of them. If anybody read one of these reviews and thought, oh yeah, this book isn't for me, that person should not be allowed to procreate.
So you agree with the Lord Ruler and his breeding programs for the terrace?
When it comes to breeding out people who are this stupid, I can't argue with it as much as I'd like to.
Wow.
Well, so we'll leave off on that happy note. No plugs for this. You know where to reach us. So everyone, come back next week or week after or for whenever this bonus got released and continue with whatever book we are currently reading. And go out and have fun, and we'll be sure to listen to our Well of Ascension one reviews.
Toodaloo.
Bye. See you next time.